Before now, the narrative in the political atmosphere has been mostly dictated by politicians vying for various public offices. As such, campaign days' slogans are largely a product of what they will it to be. But Nigeria's political space in recent times has been shaken up, albeit for good reasons, from phrases like "batified" to articulated or obedient. Political party loyalists and supporters have taken electioneering campaigns from politicians and largely made it their own. One key notable part of this new wave in the Nigerian political space is that more and more youths have shown and exhibited high-level interest, especially since the Not Too Young to Run bill was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. This has sparked what many might call a revolution, with party supporters, most of whom are youths, visibly and audibly putting themselves forward in campaign for their preferred candidates. Also worthy of note is the fact that the Independent Electoral Commission had earlier come out to say youths form 71% of the newly registered set of voters. But the big question is, will this new wave turn the tide and change the narrative in the build-up to the 2023 elections? And might we have a switch in play where supporters campaign for public office seekers as against the norm of public office seekers campaigning to the electorate? These and others we shall be discussing on Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odijochi. Welcome to the program. With me in the studio is Arms Free Ajanaku, media and election expert. Glad to have you join us on Nigeria.
I'm privileged to be here.
Also in the studio is Anselm Eragbe, National Youth Leader of the Labour Party. Thank you for joining us. It is my pleasure
to be here.
All right. Let me start with you. Now, how would you describe, just like in my intro, the new wave of political activeness among the electorate, particularly the youths, and what has been the effect so far?
Well, thank you. Comrade Eragbe Anselm, the National Youth Leader of Labour Party, and the Edo North senatorial candidate for the party in the 2023 general elections.
Okay.
Basically, what has happened in Nigeria, particularly most recently, the wave that we see is consequent upon the actions of what transpired most recently. You are aware, in 2020, the youth of this country had a cause to revolt against police brutality. That action in itself created the scenario we now have, because the youth have come to a realization that governance is important in their affairs and scheme of things. And because they constitute a simple majority by way of vote, now they are in a position to decide ultimately what happens. Now, this is a new consciousness. Hitherto before now, the youth of this country had not really deemed it too necessary to participate in politics or governance, even though there had been agitations for inclusion of youth in politics. So basically what is unfolding before our very eyes is a situation where the state of the economy, the plight of the nation, the decadence in every facet of our national life, particularly with respect to the way governance had been run in this country. So the youth desire to have a better system, a better country that will work for them. So again, most recently, they found a man they believe will take them to that promised land. So by and large, this is youth revolution. It is going to be ballot revolution because of this realization that their role, their vote, because democracy, they say, is government of the people, for the people, and by the people, where the simple majority constitute those who decide what happens.
Right.
So the youth are about to make a statement.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Arms free. I don't know. All my guests, their names begin with an A. Anslem, arms free.
Yeah.
Okay, now it is no news that the nation is grappling with economic challenges. However, party supporters are going out of their way to fund campaigns for their preferred candidate, a norm that many would refer to as fanatical. You know, even in these hard times. Now, what would you say is responsible for this?
Yeah, I think what's responsible is our democracy has evolved to a point to which citizens can now see that the democratic part, is a part that creates some possibility to have that nexus between democracy itself, the ritual of periodic election, make that connection to good governance. So people believe now much more. And we should give credit, for this to some of the key electoral stakeholders who have kind of raised the bar in terms of ensuring that the electoral process reflects the votes of the people and reflects, the will of the people. If you look at some of the elections conducted recently by INEC, especially state elections at the subnational level, you would agree that there has been some appreciable level of improvement, so much so that you could have a ruling party being defeated in some states. And so that has entrenched the concept we call democratic accountability. So the people believe now that they can go out there and use the ballots to make the change they want to see. I would like to say that all over the world, democracy is troubled. In fact, sometimes last year, the United States President Joe Biden had to call what he called the summit of democracy, because democracy is troubled. So the whole world is looking at Nigeria now as a beacon of hope for democracy in Africa. We saw what happened in Kenya recently, the elections there, and so I think this is heartwarming development that we are having. The historically marginalized groups, the youth, the women, the people with disabilities, now coming to and trying to use the democratic process to engage the issues of governance. I think it's a tremendous development that has its own downsides also. Okay.
Now, comrade, let me come to you. At this juncture, can we say that politically we're done with money politics? That is, or money-induced political campaigns? Or do you still think a large majority of the crowds coming out to support various candidates are rented? Good.
Well, this is reality. The people, with recourse to history, have seen the consequences of selling their birthright. We've had situations where persons were giving 1,000, 2,000, or whatever the amount of monies were, over a 4 years tenure, for instance. They end up not getting anything in return for governance. Of course, if you go back to such politicians that give such monies, they will tell you, we bought our vote, we paid for it. So that is what you get for selling vote. Now, this new realization is a situation where the people themselves, like we are beginning to see, have taken upon themselves the burden to organize the process and make their own crowdfunding, donations, contributions, because they are now owning the process. Because they will desire and demand accountability ultimately. They will desire and demand good governance. So in the days ahead, probably at the end of the 2023 general elections, there will be a new order where the people themselves will come forward to actually say A, B, C, D should be done by reason of our vote. Now, those in government will now be careful, knowing fully well that they did not buy this vote that brought them into power. So the will of the people is about to begin to prevail. So this is what it should be, ideally. So we want to urge Nigerians, particularly because Nigeria, like we know, is the giant of Africa. But hitherto, we may not have been able to show that exemplary leadership. But I think we are beginning to retrace our steps and to begin to order our path so that we shine the light once more.
Okay, I'm free. Now, this new wave of awareness, political awareness and consciousness among Nigerian youths. Do you see it affecting in any way the outcome of next year's general elections? If yes, how and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this new wave would definitely, in fact, the new wave has disrupted the traditional norms in our political process. What I mean by disruption is the intro rightly pointed at, how it was politicians that used to make outlandish promises. Politicians would build a bridge, where there's no river. That is not the case anymore, because the agenda setting is now with the electorate. The electorate is trying as much as possible to set agenda in terms of what they want to see in the process, what they want to experience, what they want the leaders to do, those who they want to elect. In fact, we are at a point where the political leaders or the political actors are no longer at liberty to dictate the tempo of the discourse. So young people are setting the agenda. Women are also setting the agenda. They are drawing attention to their issues, and this is really very heartwarming. Now, in terms of the 2023 elections, how that would play out, I believe that we are going to see a serious shake-up in the political system. I say that because it is not only the presidential election that is at play. We have young people like Anselm also vying for positions at subnational level that you never thought young people would come out for. So we want to, we are seeing House of Assembly, we're seeing different positions, not just the presidency, being at play. And this shows that there's interest not just at the national level, there's interest at subnational level. And this interest will definitely translate into positive outcomes. But like I mentioned earlier, there are also downsides to some of the enthusiasm we have seen. Downsides in terms of overzealous elements within the space who also engage in unwholesome practices that undermine the democratic process itself. And I speak specifically about the issue of fake news. Where you see a supporter, young people wanting to outdo each other to project their preferred candidates. And in the process, they are spreading fake news. So that's the downside of it. But this downside can be managed. It's something that should not be repressed, but it can be managed through literacy in terms of, how people consume information, campaigns against misinformation, fake news, and disinformation. I think those are just the minor issues we have seen that are not too good. But on the whole, I'm loving the energy that the electoral process is experiencing.
Okay, now just like you said, there may be some downsides. For example, case study, the NSAS protest, which became bloody at a point. Now, how should political aspirants manage their supporters from overzealousness, like he mentioned, so that they don't defame the party and their ambitions?
Well, basically, there will be a lot of sensitization, voter education, conduct of supporters. Again, it behoves on the candidate to put out clear agenda by way of manifesto on what they will do and to guide the people in the direction in which the narratives should go. So this is the first responsibility of every candidate. Now, again, the people themselves, just like my comrade here said, you cannot take away overzealousness most times, because when people believe in a cause, sometimes they may not be absolutely right, but because they think they believe in a cause, they go all out. But again, the extent or the volume of information at their disposal might be the reason. Probably we have downsides, as the case may be. But by and large, each time we notice some of this downside of in the game, we should do well always to bring them back, educate them, guide them, organize them.
Continuous sensitization.
It's a continuous process.
Yes. Okay. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Like the youth, they make up more than 70% of the population of Nigeria, and their participation thus far has been very, very impressive. They just woke up from their slumber. Like they always say, the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. So if they don't participate now, how would they get it? So it's very, very important they participate.
When we say youth, they are the engine room of any country you can talk about. And their participation is very important. Without youth, there's no country, no nation, so to say. And if they actively participate in politics, they actively participate in democracy, there's no way we are going to get it right as a country.
In every facet of life as far as this country, in anything, youth have to participate. They host the country, they have the population. So for anyone to come into power, at least must have a good program for the youth in terms of employment and all those facilities or infrastructure that makes them travel abroad. At least I think we can replicate here.
You can go out to make noise, but the main campaign is when you have your PVC and you use it well. You know, that's voting, which is a kind of not disemphasizing yourself by having your vote to whoever that you want to rule the country. It's more important than all this street rally that they are doing.
Interesting. Welcome back. This is Nigeria Today, and our focus is on 2023 elections, public participation in election campaigns. And my guests are still here with me. Now, let me come to Arms Free. You are a social media expert. So now let's talk about the social media remaining a major part in public opinion. You know, it's a lot of people are gullible to social media information. Now, do you think the social media has a major role to play in this recent trend? And also, how effectual do you think it will be in the decision-making process of the general populace?
Yes, so I think the social media has played a fundamental role in the energy and in the verve we have seen in this election cycle. The social media is a double-edged sword. There are political actors who have used it fantastically. They've used it to disseminate information, disseminate their programs. You see short videos, you see infographics, communicating, curating, and disseminating the core issues of governance that are going to deliver on when they get into that position of power. But on the flip side, you also have political actors who have encouraged this very bad situation in which you have data boys and girls, unemployed youth who are just armed with an Android phone to spread misinformation in the space. So it's like curing headache. You don't cut off the head because you don't want to cure. You want to cure the headache. I think you could administer Panadol or any other medicine that should cure the headache. So I think that's what we need. For example, at the level of civil society in Nigeria, we have advocated that institutions like the Nigeria Press Council should play a more frontline role in terms of bringing young people together, especially in the political parties, supporters of political actors, getting them to, and NTA is doing a fantastic job in this regard. NTA talks a lot about the need not to spread fake news, the dangers of spreading fake news and misinformation. And I think the political actors themselves, and good enough, the signing of the peace accords, has already gotten on the way. And part of the peace accord is a component wherein the political actors, the dominant actors, like the top 3 or 4 presidential candidates, for instance, are committing to a process whereby they will also educate their supporters not to resort to spreading fake news, because that could also be inimical to the electoral process. It could also undermine the very democratic process that we are all clamoring should be promoted. And so I think that understanding of the social media as a two-way street is critical. We also need to understand it as a mechanism for feedback. A lot of a lot of fact-checking is going on, even on the part of what the political actors are putting in the space. So if, for instance, a political actor is on air saying something, real time, social media can fact-check. They can say, no, this point you're making is wrong. We don't think you can do this, and all of that. In fact, there was a particular political party candidate who was on one of the TV stations talking about a historical fact about Nigeria. He said Nnamdi Azikiwe, did not become president because he played sectional politics. But immediately he was fact-checked, and he was made to realize that Nnamdi Azikiwe was actually the first indigenous president of Nigeria. And so, those bits and pieces of critical information that we are able to put out there in the space as citizens also help democracy, because democracy will be in darkness if there is no information out there.
Okay. Now, comrade, going by recent events, especially since campaigns started, how would you rate campaigns or campaign conduct of political parties so far, and what other gray areas you think political parties should address as campaigns progress?
Or basically, the campaigns, though, have started, but they are still at their lowest ebb across party lines. Majorly, what we have seen most recently, even with the commencement of campaign, particularly, let's say, for Labour Party, that has been in the forefront of activity so far, has been mostly activities of the support groups. Because these are spirited individuals and groups who believe in a cause and have taken this cause upon themselves. Like I see most of the rallies you have seen in Lagos, across the states in Nigeria. Labour Party as a political party, we have not officially commenced campaigns because we are waiting the release of our presidential campaign committee to be followed by the inauguration, then the campaign schedules. So, but all of these are underway, really. So, I want to say, maybe in the days ahead, because of course the ban has been lifted. All that's remaining to be seen is the real activities. But of course the parties are gearing up. I think the days ahead we truly manifest actions.
Okay. All right. Now, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to say something on that.
Okay.
To say that what we have seen as issues coming out in the campaign so far, like, we all agree, have been issues driven from the grassroots, driven, from the point of view of citizens. But I have more expectations from the political stakeholders, because we have certain critical governance issues that Nigerians are facing, that Nigerians want answers to. So I expect, for instance, to see the presidential candidates of, the leading political parties to be able to make some stump speeches on some key sectors. For example, you take the economy. I expect the leading presidential candidates to say something on the economy from a part of the country that is most affected, by the economic challenges we face. The presidential candidates should also be able to make a pitch. What is their overarching view on security? How would they tackle security? What is their philosophical view? What are the bold and not approaches they are going to use in tackling insecurity? You go to infrastructure. So those thematic issues, we believe, are some of the things that we should already be having a clear understanding of what the candidates should. But that has not happened. But on the side of the political actors, it has not happened. But the pressure point, which is from the citizens, we are seeing a lot of issues coming up.
Okay, quickly, comrade, just in a few seconds, any last words for party supporters as campaigns enter full swing?
Oh, sure. For us, we urge our supporters to remain steadfast and fix their gaze on the ball, because the game is on. So in the days ahead, like I said earlier, we are going to unveil the details and the schedules. Then we run from there.
All right. Thank you.
Keep supporting us for a new Nigeria.
All right. Thank you.
God bless you.
This is where we call it a day. But first, our appreciation goes to Arms Free Ajanaku, media and election expert. Thank you for your contributions to make this discussion worth the while. We appreciate you. And to you, Ansley Meragbe, National Youth Leader, Labour Party, and also
the North senatorial candidate.
All right. We wish you all the
For the
best
party.
and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
We
your time.
appreciate you, NTA.
We
God
appreciate
bless
you too.
Okay.
And to you, our viewer, we appreciate you always for being a part of our conversations. You can also watch this episode and other ones at www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Lydia Ojijiochi. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Goodbye.